Hi everyone, it's Rob Ryder. Today's Gateway to the Republic. Is your postal district your elemental republic? The one that was envisioned by Thomas Jefferson. Right? 4 levels of republic: national, state, county, elemental. Are you its customer? In other words, is it acting as your municipal corporation? Is it a federal municipal corporation that you could be a member of, and because you are, then you're under its venue and its laws, instead of this craziness that you find yourself in where you're really not under anybody's law. It's a lawless society run by corporations out of the city of London. Crazy as that sounds. Today is Sunday, January 7, 2018. Reading the fine print, such as the USPS, United States Postal Service privacy policy, and then, look at 39 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, and 39 USC, United States Code, which basically they read about the same, but they have to do with the United States postal system. And so, before I get too deep into this, I cover the, big picture stuff here. If you went to the Social Security website, you could find this document written about the history of the Social Security card. And as you read that, you would soon find out that the SS5 forms and SS4s, one's for the employer and one's for the employee, when this program first came in 1936 as part of the New Deal, it was all run through the post office because it was already here. They didn't have this other stuff set up. So they had 45,000 post offices working on it. And they had agreements with Social Security. Jeepers, I wonder if they still may have those. And so both Social Security and IRS are tied to the post office. And if you were tied to the post office for both of those entities, well, then you would be recognized in the Republic. That's my thinking. So I said, well, I'm going to go do these things. I'm going to go get an EIN number, and then I'm going to go and get a business account because I have an EIN number with the post office, so I can use their cancel stamp to cancel letters or stamps, because a cancel stamp is an obligation on the United States. So we'll get into all that stuff as we go on, but it's like, okay, that's what I wanted to do this. So what I did this week, since my last video was on the Social Security number and the EIN, right? I have that now. I went down to Social Security to have my record changed because they're purposely putting your name and your middle name, right? Middle name in a middle name box, but saying that they don't consider the middle name part of your legal name. So they've just stole your identity, right? Because all your other documents, would have your first name as Robert Allen. In my case, right? So because mom and dad put Robert in the first name box, Allen in the middle name box, Retluski in the last name box, Social Security says we're not going to consider the middle name. My legal name just became Robert Allen, or excuse me, Robert Retluski, right? With no Allen. And well, that isn't what it is. So I wanted to get the record changed, not just the card, but I wanted the record, a what is it? Numident, Numident, Numident record, to show that my given name, Robert Allen, was in the first name box, not in the middle. And no matter what else we talk about the rest of today, anytime somebody wants your name, you put in the first name box your first name and middle name. You got more than one? Put them in there, right? And don't put anything in the middle name box. In the last name box, you put your last name and any suffix like junior, 2, 3, whatever it would be. That goes in that box. Because Social Security isn't using your middle name for your legal name. Yet the Real ID Act says your legal name should be your first name, middle name, last name, with no initials or nicknames. So Social Security is really using its own definition that's contrary to what Congress had said, the will of the people, in the Real ID Act. So all these things are going to tie together, right? So that's where we're at. That if we register with the post office properly, they're going to recognize us. And they're going to act like our agent, our doorway, our gateway into the republic, all the way to the national level. And if somebody's putting a false claim against you or whatever it is, well, you have recourse because they administer a program of fraud and civil remedies. It's in Part 273 of 39 CFR, which is an act that says, hey, false statement can be adjudicated by the United States postal system and its court system. And so, we put ourselves in their venue, we get access to their services. And that's one of them. That's how I believe it works. So before we read about the administration, let's just quick go look at some of the things that are on if you were to Google United States Postal Service privacy policy, you come to the page on their site, and what I'm reading from now is there, but I'm not saying it's in the same order. It just defines things. So let's just start from the beginning. Personal information may include your name, email, mailing, or business address, phone numbers, or other information that identifies you personally. We do not require you to register or provide personal information to visit our website. Your information will be used to facilitate online registration, provide enrollment capability, and for administration of internet-based services or features. Collection is authorized under 39 U.S.C. 401, 403, 404, providing the information is voluntary, but if not provided, we may not process your registration request. You're not going to give them your name. They're not going to say you're their customer. They won't register you as one. We do not disclose your information to third parties without your consent, except to facilitate the transaction. That's commerce. Well, you're doing commerce with the post office now. All right, you have a contract to act on your behalf or request or as legally required. This includes the following limited circumstances. To a congressional office on your behalf. You're going to be represented by the post office. You won't be doing it privately. The post office will be representing you. To financial entities regarding financial transaction issues, such as taking that negotiable instrument, that note that you have, that somebody has put their endorsement on the last page and left the pay to line blank, you're going to sign it and say, here, I want to negotiate this. Something like that. To a U.S. Postal Service auditor, to entities including law enforcement as required by law and legal proceedings, blah, 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 blah. And other entities aiding us to fulfill the services, right? So they offer all these services, and they can call on the law enforcement, they can call on the courts, they can call on anybody they need to help them fulfill the services they offer to you when you're their customer. All you need to have to get those is tell them who you are and where you live. Notice of our privacy practices. The following describes the ways we collect information. The Postal Service collects personal information from you and from your transaction with us, right? Your transactions with them. Now, I got to stop right here because just last week I was out trying to get to open a non-interest bearing transaction account. And when I went to my bank where I have an account and said I wanted to do that under my EIN business, they sent me a check in the mail and told me they closed my account. Now, I'm not done with them yet, but I'm just saying they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to give me a non-interest bearing transaction account. But yet, the Postal Service, they're not paying me any interest, right? But they can negotiate transactions. So I must have a transaction account with them. We use information we collect to provide you certain products and services, if needed, to respond to your inquiries or requests for information. Oh, and if needed. We occasionally collect data about you from financial entities to perform verification services and from commercial sources. We do this, for example, to pre-populate data fields in call centers to facilitate transactions. They're the facilitator of the transaction. They're acting as your agent. You must have a transaction account. You're not paying any interest, so you got a non-interest bearing transaction account with the post office. And what those can do is they can negotiate negotiable instruments, not just cash and checks, right? Bonds, loans, whatever they call these pieces of paper we're supposed to have, investment contracts, whatever it is, they can facilitate the transaction. Or to market products to customers who have agreed to receive such messages. And so it's stopping right now when you go to do this, because when we're all done, everybody should at least go register on the post office website in their private capacity, even if you don't want to do it as a business. I've done it both ways. I'm going to show you how to do it. And just tell them you want all the messages and see what comes in. Right? So they even have it now that when you do this, you can see the mail coming to you because it has all them barcodes on there. That's what they're telling me. I didn't have any mail yet when I did it. I just did it yesterday. Right? But apparently, if you have incoming mail, it will tell you what's coming and show you an image of it. Can you imagine that? That's what that barcode is. And they're going to imprint your information in your barcode. And when you send it, well, then they'll know it came from you. And it's like, wow, this is, kind of hard to say you didn't send the mail. Wow, it's just great stuff. The Postal Service follows the privacy requirements of the Privacy Act, which protects your personal information that we maintain in what is called the system of records. In fact, they call them vital records, right? They have a system of vital records. A system of records is a file, database, or program from which the personal information is retrieved by name or other special identifier. Now, I got a customer registration ID, a CRID. I have an identifier with the post office. And they know my social security number. Well, that's an identifier. Got all sorts of identifiers. You don't just have to match your name, right? What other identifier do you have? They have access to it. In other words, the Privacy Act applies when we use your personal information to know who you are and to interact with you. They will know who you are. Now, I know this to be true because when I went to fill out the complaint form that we're going to get to eventually, and I put my name at the top, and the address, it had already filled in the address. They knew who I was. I was like, wow, that's huge, right? They know who you are and where you live. So they can't tell you anymore that they don't know who you are. And they can't send you mail to that address in any name but your name because that would be a false statement. It's not your fucking name. Look at all the claims that come in against you. They're not using your full legal name. It doesn't come to Robert Allen Rutluski. It may be Robert Rutluski, maybe Robert A. Rutluski. Whatever it is, it's not Robert Allen Rutluski. So it's a false claim. They can either change the records or you can have them arrested for a false claim. And so some lady down in Texas has me looking at her stuff for property taxes, and I'm just looking all over. It's like, well, they never use your name on your address or nothing. And they're not even using the proper legal description. But there's all sorts of things that are wrong. And that all applies to property that was given by the United States. Hey, we should be able to take that to the post office. But first, you got to register. They have to know who you are. And then I want to say, well, what was facilitate? So I had to go look at a definition. And 26 CFR, amounts paid or incurred to facilitate blah, 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 transactions, right? So facilitator of transactions. And they had one in here. An acquisition of an ownership interest in the taxpayer. Other than an acquisition by the taxpayer of the ownership interest in the taxpayer, whether by redemption or otherwise. That's what we're doing. We're the other than. Right? We're going to acquire our interest in our taxpayer ownership interest by redemption or otherwise. By claiming the damn thing. So I've heard that people have gotten EIN numbers as trust, right? To be the executor of a dead man's trust. Basically their trust as the dead man. I'm not doing that. I'm going to do it as a sole proprietor. Say I'm the owner of that business and I'm not dead. You just didn't know I was here. Right? So put it over here in this account. I'm not a dead man. Nevertheless, in either case, the people that had done it this way, as a trust, were able then to go online and send 1099s, like a 1099-A, to the debt collector, asking them to report, and then apparently the stuff was going away. Now, I'm not an expert at that, and I've got it third hand. I don't know that that's what happened, but I could see where it is, and so I'm going to go try it anyways, right? When you make yourself your business, all of your monthly bills become bills against the business. So you can write them all off. You can write your utilities off, your rent, your mortgage, and, because you can use a Schedule C to the 1040 as a sole proprietor. And you can get your W-2 to have it listed as a statutory employee, and you can write it off or off against it on the Schedule C of a 1044. We'll get to that in a minute. We're not quite done with the post office, right? But we've got to talk about the post office, IRS, Social Security. So it may be a while. Right? Stop for a minute, go get a cup of coffee. Get a pencil and write down some, write things down like what time you saw something, go back and look at it, because we're going to go through lots of stuff. That was that. Now let's look at this right here. So what about this Civil Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act, right? Basically, hey, if they got programs set up, if there's some kind of fraud, there should be a civil remedy for us. And it's in Part 273 of 39 CFR. This part establishes procedures for imposing civil penalties and assessments again under the Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act of 1986, which is codified 31 U.S.C. 3801 to 3812. Right, then 12 little sections of code are the entire act. And 3802, if they violate that, then the act goes into effect. But we'll get into that later. Against any person who makes, submits, or presents, or causes to be made, submitted, or presented a false, fictitious, or fraudulent claim or written statement to the post office, postal service. Forgive me. That's simple enough, right? Well, let's see. What do they mean? What is a claim then? A claim means any request, demand, or submission made to the postal service for property, services, or money, including money representing grants, loans, insurance, benefits, or made to a recipient of property, services, or money from the post office, or, this is where we fall in immediately, to a party to a contract with the postal service. When you register with the postal service, you get a CRIB number, a customer registration identification, CRID, C-R-I-D. You have a contract with them, right? You're doing transactions. They already said so. So, okay, you're the party. Now what? Okay, so now they got a claim for property or services if the United States provided such property or services. Time out. All the land for all the deeds was provided by the United States. All the real property came from the United States. So anybody who's trying to do anything with your real property who isn't identifying you in your full legal name at your address has, and they're trying to take your property, right? They're making a demand on the property. Well, that's a freaking false statement. You could go to the post office through the inspector general and fill out a complaint. Now, people may have done this before, but did you do it as a customer of the post office where they had your freaking information? No, unless you've joined the post office. You ain't in. For the payment of money, including money, blah, 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 if the United States provided any portion of the money requested or demanded. So we can stop there. So between those two, now we're down to the dirt going on in your county, because we have all of this money that's tied up in these CAFR accounts, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, if you were to look at it, and just go see where the net assets are and say, well, net assets are what's left after everything is, all bills are paid, no matter how you got them figured out. When all the bills are paid, what's the net assets? Boom. Right? That right there. My county is almost like $600 million or something like that they have. right? Above anything they would have to pay, ever. Why do they have to have that much money? Well, then you look closer, and it really isn't my county, because my county is called Kent County. That's the political subdivision of the state of Michigan. This entity is called the County of Kent. And you can't find any records where it has anything at all to do with the state or that it was ever created. Yet that's where all the money is in these CAFR accounts. They do the same thing at at every level. The school districts, the townships, whatever they are, right? They're not putting it into their proper name. It's going into this other entity that isn't a political subdivision of the state. It's just pretending to be. That'll be the next thing to pick off. But that's one thing, right? So another wonderful thing about this is they have a system to deal with book entry procedures, right? Because we have all of these negotiable instruments are really book entries, right? They haven't been monetized yet. They're not, you can't walk away with FRNs in your hand. They're just in the book. But there's a way to get it from the book entry into, monetized, and they have a process to do it. And so we're, what was the other one? I want to make sure I said it. Book entry. Oh, it'll come to me. Anyways, it's run through the Federal Reserve banks. And blah, blah. So let's get into what I had done this week. But before we do that, my email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. Rob Ryder's email, courtofrecord, no S's, COURTOFRECORD, @aol.com. Phone number 616-712-6179. Donate if you can. PayPal, robryder@aol.com. Or good old USPS, Robert Allen Retluski at 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341-8664, United States. They agree now that I'm in the United States. I am domestic. Okay, let me turn this off for a second and regroup. Give me just a second here. Okay, so there you go. Yes, it's working. Okay. In my last video, I had shown that I had gone online. You can do it online. Although the system now, I guess, is down until the 9th, which is strange. That's on Tuesday. At least certain portions of the system are down. But online, you could get an EIN. Right? And so I went on and did it as a sole proprietor. And as a sole proprietor, it asks what you want to do it for, and just say you want to do it for banking. That's what I did it for. Always put your first and middle name in the first name box and your last name in the last name box. You have no middle initial. You have no middle name. You just have a given name. Everything other than your last name is your given name. If you say it is, put it in there. And so one of the first things they're going to do is ask you for your Social Security number. And so if you already have an EIN under your Social Security number as a sole proprietor, they're not going to let you do it again. And that's what happened to Bobby Kirby out in Arizona, because he had one under like Kirby and Associates or something like that, set up by a CPA or whoever. Rosita did it. She never had one, and she was able to do it just using her Social Security number. And another lady called me, and she was able to do it. And we've all gotten these 82 numbers. So what Bob is going to have to do, and anybody else that probably is in the same boat where you've already have set something up as a sole proprietor, I think it matters. You only get to have one sole proprietorship. You could have other entities with businesses, but only one as a sole proprietor. And you want to make that one in your name. So any place that asks for the name of the business, Robert Allen Retluski. What's my name? Robert Allen Retluski, right? Just never waver, never change. And by the time I was done, I had, they give it to you there. It's like, boom, here you are. Here's your EIN number, 8236544127. Robert Allen Retluski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. Okay, so I got one. Well, what I noticed when I read this thing then is it says this EIN will identify you, your business accounts, you, your business accounts, tax returns, documents, even if you have no employees. So you can use it to replace you with your, Social Security number. I don't need to use my social. I'm doing it as my business and give them that number. The IRS knows who it is, and nobody else needs to. But this didn't have dash 8664 on it, which I had on a license I had gotten from the state as a sole proprietor. Because once you do this, right now it's a sole proprietor. What are the things you need to do to have a sole proprietorship in your state, whatever, right? Well, one of them is if you're going to do it as a DBA, you got to register the name as a DBA. But I'm not doing it as a DBA. I'm doing it in my name. It doesn't matter that it's all caps. That's my name, Robert Allen Rutluski. It could be uppercase, lowercase, middle case, doesn't matter. It sounds the same. What doesn't sound the same is Rutluski Robert Allen. That's a different style of name. But Robert Allen Rutluski, no matter if it's an uppercase, proper case, lowercase, is the same style. Some alphabets don't have lower letters. It would have to be an uppercase. So, so I called them up to say, hey, this isn't, what do I need to do here? I had a couple other questions at the time. And so I called him and talked to him on the phone. And what they did is, okay, well, let me do something. And he went away and he prepared my IRS 147C letter. But before I forget, there's one other thing. When you're doing this, at some point, you have to say, when did the business start? And I wanted to use my birth date, right? When I did, they said, well, it can only go back 25 years. Okay, and I said, well, okay, I don't want to try to figure out what day to use. I'm going to use the day that I got my license from the state for my sole proprietorship from the tax man. Because that's who you need to register with in your state as a sole proprietor with the tax man. Here's the Department of Treasury. Right, so get your EIN and then go register with the tax man. But on that license, because I had done mine backwards, I registered with the state first and then got my EIN. It had an 8664. I said, hey, they're not quite the same, right? My license says 8664 and what you gave me here doesn't. So he said, okay, well, then he's going to send me this 147C letter. And a 147C, this is like your determination letter, right? That the IRS is agreeing that you are who you say you are. Sure enough, there's my address with the 8664, the same EIN number. Your employee identification number is 82364 or 3654127. Yada, yada, yada. Right? They said give this to anybody who needs to have your EIN number. It's what they're looking for to prove that you are who you say you are. So that was easy enough to do. And then I said, now what am I going to do with this? And I knew one of the things I had been wanting to do is I wanted to be able to get this mailing permit application customer profile filled out, right, as a business. So I said, well, that's what I'll do next. I was doing this between Christmas and New Year's, I believe. Filled it out, sent it in, hadn't heard anything. So actually I did it before Christmas. Didn't hear anything in between the holidays. First day afterwards, actually New Year's Day, I sent an email to the business district to say, hey, the business office about, where's my information? And the guy called me, and just earlier this past week. And he said, yeah. I said, I just want to do it for this pre-canceled stamp authorization because there's no charge. This imprint, number one, that's got a fee. 3's got a fee. 4's got a fee. All these things have a fee. But really what I wanted to do was have them put me in their book, register me in the book, and then let me pre-cancel stamps. Mailer, pre-cancel, postmark. Because then, with this, you have the postmark, and you cancel the stamp, and you give it to them, and it's already prepaid, and I'm going to show you why you want to pre-cancel the stamp. And so he said, well, I have to, you need to send me an example of what you want to have, and I have to give it to my boss. And he was a younger guy, nice guy, yada, yada, yada. But he said, but you can just go online and do a customer profile. And so sure enough, USPS, right, on this page here, if you just went down to the bottom of the page, other useful sites, Business Gateway, right? That's the one I did for myself as a business. But there's also one on here to do it as an individual. And I don't know exactly where it is from this side, so we'll have to find it again. But, right, Business Customer Gateway, boom, click on it. Sign in, see I'm already here, but if I hadn't been, not registered, or register for free, right, not registered, so register for free, boom. Pick a username and start filling it out. And I'll show you what I did on this, right? But that's how you do it. If you already had an EIN, I don't know that you need to have an EIN. I don't even know that it asks for an EIN, but it just, I had one, so this is the direction I went first. So, okay, so give me just a second here. Be right back. Okay, so what came out of that was I didn't have to do this after all. I'm still waiting. I emailed it, so the guy gave me his email address, sent the information to him, waiting to find out how to do number 2 to have a mailer pre-cancel postmark. And the reason that I want that is here. In 18 USC, United States Code, 8, obligation or other security of the United States. I guess it don't need to be quite that big. The term obligation or other security of the United States includes and lists all these things and canceled United States stamps. Okay, but they had to be canceled. And in this manual, out of the Domestic Mail Manual, section 604, 3, right here, hang on. Cancellation of stamps. Black ink must be used for cancellation. All they use at the post office is red. That's why I told the guy, I want to use a black ink cancel stamp. He says, well, what's wrong with red? I said, well, your frickin' law says it needs to be black. Well, it was news to him. He'd never read it before. I said, yeah, it's right here. Right? So I've sent all this to him, said it needs to be black. Why do I want to use black ink? Because it's what your fucking law says. So please go ask, instead of asking me why I want to use it, go ask the Postmaster General why I have to use it to cancel a stamp. And when it's all said and done, you would get a cancel stamp that looks like one of these 2 in format A, right? And you would have it. And you would have a permit number. And it would say where it was canceled at. And you would cancel the stamp. And then you would give it to the post office to run through the system. And when they do that and it's already canceled, it's an obligation of the United States, right? You just made the United States a party to your contract. Since the United States is a part of your contract, well, now you get to use the post office court system. That's why to do it. Right? So I'm still waiting to see how that goes. But that was all of this, right? So like I said, he told me, well, you don't have to do this. Right? There's an easier way. You can go online. Oh, how about we do that instead? And where's that stuff at? Golly, far too many things going on. Post office, post office, post office. That's how I did it? I believe so. All right. There's that first page, right? Because I won't be able to go past first page again without filling out the end. So you're going to put up, the first thing was pick a username, then pick a password, right? Ask some questions, answer them. Next, we need your name and contact information. Excellent. Who am I? First name, Robert Allen. I don't have a middle name. Right? No middle initial, no middle name. Retluski. If you had a senior, junior, two, whatever, put it here. If you got two middle names, given names, whatever it is, multiple parts, put them all in the first name box. Email address, right? My phone's in the US, da da da. Can we contact you? Yeah, yeah. Anybody who wants to can contact me. What will you tell me? Please send me something. All right, then I wanted to find my address. And so I had clicked this, and then you had to fill it in. And as you filled it in, boom, this was the answer you got. And it said, thank you for validating your mailing address. Now, please help us with your business. And it already had my business in the system. I don't believe I'd put it in. It's like, well, they must have got that because this is the exact way I got it from the IRS. Well, hey, the SS5, SS4, all that stuff runs through the post office, or that's how it started. So does it, is it still doing that? Is that agreement still in effect? And maybe it's being done there, wherever there is, but you can have a post office anywhere. Any federal building can have a post office. Okay, so yeah, it verified it. Congratulations, the address you provided has been verified as valid delivery address. And then boom, there it is. Now, this is my address, right? This isn't who it's mailed to. This is the address. My name is part of the address. Right? This is the first line of the address. This is the second line. This is the city and state. But this is the first line of the address. Right? I'm like a permanent fixture. 49341-8664. That's where Robert Allen Retluski is. Normally, this line is what you would see. 10955 14 Mile Road is the first line of the address. That's just huge. So this is like a physical location because it doesn't have the 8664. This is my interpretation, right? And when it does have the 8664, now it's a mailing address. So I got all done, and then I had this stuff at the bottom, right? This is where that Privacy Act stuff came in. And well, let's read the fine print. Well, it says this includes the following limited circumstances: to a congressional office on your behalf, to a financial entities regarding financial transaction issues. Excellent. I'm glad that I'm their customer. Okay, so I had gotten all of that done, right? Now I have a thing with the post office, and they send me a thing. Once you do that, they send it to you in the mail, and it says, Robert Allen Retluski, welcome to USPS Business Customer Gateway. In addition to setting up with core services, we automatically assign you a mailer ID, 902219758. The mailer ID is a field within the Intelligent Mail barcode that is used to identify mail owners and or mailing agents, right? So they know who you are on the envelope, that you sent it from your business. Your home business location. Not necessarily my address, my location. Robert Allen Retluski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341-8664. United States. I am domestic with my CRID, customer registration ID, 240962202. You have been granted access to, and it gave me all these other things that you can get into, which I haven't quite done yet, but I'll be looking at all of them. But as I found out with this mailer ID, right, you can put it in the barcode. I think that I believe what you can do then is, print your envelopes and the barcode will print out on there. When you cancel the stamp, put the barcode on, give it to the post office. When they run it, they'll know who it is and how everything was done. All right, this is your registered mail. First class mail. Domestic. Okay. So I had all that done. Then it was like, well, what do I do next? And for that, you're just going to have to give me a second to put her together. Hang on. Okay, so now this is a Social Security website. Program Operations Manual. RM 10212.001, defining the legal name for an SSN. What is a legal name? For SSA enumeration purposes, a legal name consists of a first name and last name. The legal name is a name used to sign legal documents, deeds, or contracts. Well, in that case, then my name has to be Robert Allen Ritluski. That's my legal name. Not first name Robert Ritluski, because that wouldn't be my legal name. I wouldn't use that to sign a legal document. We do not consider the middle name or suffix of the legal name, or suffix part of the legal name. Whether the middle name or suffix is included, omitted, or incorrectly shown on an evidentiary document submitted with the SS5 does not matter. Both the middle name and the suffix, even if not part of the legal name by SSA definition, right, by their definition, should be used to resolve situations where identity of the applicant or number holder is in question. Well, they're using a different definition than is in the Real ID Act of 2005, which you can find in 6 CFR 37.3, which says that the full legal name is your first name, middle name, last name, no initials, no nicknames. But they're not using the middle name. Well, then they're defying, they're in opposition to the Congress, of the will of the people. Well, why would they do that? Well, obviously, to keep your property from you, to put a defect in the record. It goes on here, since a person's middle names or suffixes is not considered part of the legal name by SSA, a middle name shown as part of the given name, or a suffix shown as part of the family name, can be omitted or entered in the middle name and suffix fields of the enumeration system. Now this is the important part. If the applicant has a given name with multiple parts and does not allege having a middle name, then the multiple parts should be entered as the first name. This is why you put Robert Allen in the first name box. And here's a perfect example of this. This is my DD 214, where it's Ritluski Robert Allen. Now look, it says name, first comma, or last comma, first comma, middle. There's no comma between Robert and Allen, so Robert Allen's my first name. This is an improper style, but it's the proper name. At least they identified what sections of the name are where. It's still Robert Allen Ritluski. What's the first name? Robert Allen. What's the last name? Ritluski. You just put it on there backwards. And that is the dude that owns a Social Security number, Robert Allen Ritluski. However, on this is the stub to my Social Security account, it was in the name Robert A. Ritluski. I said, well, that ain't right. Right? They took my middle name from me. And so I had complained about this as I was doing the video last week. I need to send a complaint to the Inspector General of Social Security. And so I did, just because I want to say that. I sent another one to the United States Postal Service, which we're going to get to. Okay, so that's the way it is there. Now, on a passport, they put Ritluski on one name and then Robert Allen on a second name, right? But this is United States of America, and I'm not in the United States of America. I don't want to be. That's King George's jurisdiction. I want to be in the United States of America. And so I pointed this out before. If you read this little blah blah on that thing, it says, the Secretary of State of the United States of America hereby requests that all whom it may concern to permit the citizen/national of the United States named herein to pass without delay or hindrance, and in case of need to give all lawful aid and protection. And then there's that little space before it goes into French. I think right here it should say Robert Allen Retluski, because it said herein, and this is going into the book. Right? This is the cover. This is out of the book. This is the inside cover. Herein, now we're in the book. Anyways, I think right here it should have said Robert Allen Retluski, and this trash shouldn't have been here. But we'll find out what we're going to do about that. So, all these different styles of names, right? So I said, okay. I was researching this, and I came across this thing about the story of the Social Security number. So if you Google story of the Social Security number, you'll find this. It's also on the Social Security website. And it goes through the whole thing about the history of the Social Security number, what the purposes were. That the post office, they used fingerprints. They thought about doing it that way, and they decided, no, instead we're going to do it this other way, and thus the employer identification EIN and SSN were created. You know, because why is the EIN an SS4 form and the SSN is SS5 form? SS is still Social Security. So why are we sending it to the IRS? Right? How come not to Social Security? It's an SS form. Well, maybe we're not sending it either to the Social Security. We're sending it to the post office, both the EIN and the SSN. Because in 1935, they approved the system of numbers. Area numbers had been assigned based on zip code, mailing address provided on the application for the original Social Security card. The applicant's mailing address may not be the same as the place of residence. And so, as you'll find out, that if you haven't updated your zip code on your NUMEDENT record, that it doesn't have the proper zip code, right? So it doesn't have your mailing address. You need to go change it. So I'm reading all these things and say, wow, I got to go down to Social Security. Where does it really talk about that? Where the post office gets involved. Fortunately, the board was able to enlist the post office department to issue Social Security numbers, signing an agreement, right, contract between Social Security and the post office. So they're a customer of of the post office, and so am I. The post office can be my third-party witness, non-interested party. Required employers to file SS form with the post office, and then required employees to file an SS5 form. You're supposed to go to the post office, but you could take it to your boss or something, I guess. Registration process was largely directed by local postmasters. The first task of the postman was to take up a list of employers on the routes. Employers were permitted to return the SS5 application either to the employer, to the labor organization as a member, to the letter carrier, or to the post office by hand, or to the post office via mail. But that took another agreement to be able to do it by the mail. Of the 45,000 post offices then in existence, 1,017 first-class offices were designated typing centers to assign Social Security numbers. Obviously, the post office had a lot to do with the SS5 and the SS4. And they have a form now. I got to remember to try to find that. AOOA 7002 or something like that. They got some number that you're actually supposed to fill out to change the record. I found out afterwards. But because I read all this, yada, 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 it's like, okay, well, the post office got something to do with the Social Security number, but my Social Security number is incorrect. Let me go down there and get that right, make sure they have my right address and everything, and maybe that'll tie this whole thing together. And then maybe that number on the back of my Social Security card that starts with a letter is my routing number to the bank. That's my routing number and the account number is my Social Security number, and the post office is my non-interest bearing transaction account, and I do everything through the post office based on the numbers on the Social Security card. The problem is the Social Security card, I'm not seen as the owner because the record is wrong. It's got the wrong zip code. Gotta fix it. So I went down and said, okay, well, what are you supposed to have to do this? Evidence of identity for a Social Security card. I'm reading this thing, right? Da, da, da. Why do they require proof? First of all, you should write that number down. 10210.405. And in here it said, why a birth record is not evidence of identity. Social Security does not accept birth record as identity document. You could read the rest later, but they don't accept the birth record. What do they accept? For an adult 18 to 69, in most cases, should be able to provide a current identity document such as an unexpired driver's license or state-issued non-driving identity card. So, okay, I said, well, I got both of those. Heck, I'll just take all this paper I got. I got a DD-214, got an old passport. I got birth records. I got a Michigan ID now that says on it, it's got my full legal name. It says Robert Allen Rutluski on it. I go down to Social Security on Friday. That was just this last Friday. Go in, you got to punch in the screen what you're there for, change the Social Security number, or get a replacement card, I think I did, which may have been a mistake. Maybe I should have said other. But I said, get a replacement card. And got my number, waited, went up to the window. So I showed the lady the stub that I have. Right? I give her the stub. I give her my driver's license or my ID. I got a state ID, which is your driver's license. And gave them both to her and said, there's an error in my record because you've made my given name a first name middle, and my given name needs to go in the first name box according to your records. You know, according to this other section that I had read to you. You know, this one right here. And so I had this printed out, and I'm starting to look for it. And she says, well, we can't accept this as ID. And she hands me back my driver's license. So we can't accept that as ID. I said, that's what your rules say. No, we have to accept this. Right? And she's talking about the birth record. Well, I just read to you that they say you can't use a birth record. It's not evidence of identity. Right? And that you're supposed to use a driver's license. And she's telling me the exact opposite. And it's like, well, I must have walked in the wrong door, right? Because there's something funny going on here because, you know, she's not doing what needs to be done. So she continues on and she says, well, you know, she wants me to ask some questions, and I answer them. What's my address? What's my mom's name? What's my dad's name? Yada, yada, yada. And she prints out a piece of paper and hands it to me and says, you need to verify this information. And I'm looking at the information, and it's got a wrong zip code for me. Mine's 49341-8664. This is 49441-8664. I said, well, this has got a wrong zip code. And she says, well, that's the one you gave me. I said, well, you know, I don't think I did. I thought I said 49341-8664. But if I didn't, I'll say it again. I said, my zip code is 49341-8664. It's on the driver's license, but you say you can't use it as ID. I said, and by the way, that my parents' names aren't really right. They're using middle initials. And she says, oh, that's just the way they do it. Okay. He said, oh, by the way, your name has already been changed on the record, so I guess we can go ahead and finish this up. Da, 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 da. And I said, well, how could it have been changed? She said, yeah, it was changed in 1964. I was born in 1958, right? So it was changed in 1964. I said, now, what would cause that to happen? Well, in 1963, I got sent a certified copy of record of birth, right, that showed it had been recorded in 1958. This is done in 1963 in July. This shows my given name, right? There's no comma, right? Rutluski, comma, Robert Allen, but it's a copy of the record of birth of Robert Allen Rutluski. Right? That's my name. This isn't my name. That isn't the proper way to do it. They may do it that way to put it in a record someplace to find it easier, but it's first name, last name is your legal name. Or as Congress said, first name, middle name, last name. No initials, no nicknames. But on this record, it had my mom and dad and their full legal names. They may have been in my mom and her maiden name, but they didn't use middle initials. And the paper that she showed me had middle initials on it. But I said, well, I know what that looks. The information on this thing looks just like what is on my certificate of baptism, where it has my name properly done, and then it had my dad in a middle initial and my mom in a middle initial. And the other thing it said on the paper, it said Bay City, Michigan. It's like, this whole thing is fucked up. Right? And she, so she took it back and did something, and then she handed me a receipt. And to be honest, I must have blanked out for a second. I was processing all this. I just took the receipt and said, okay, blah, 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 blah. Well, we'll just go with whatever we got and go. And I didn't look, because I thought she changed the zip code, which is really the main thing. I just want to get the zip code right. Well, she didn't do that. Where is that? So she hands me this receipt. Social Security Administration, important information. Robert Allen Verlusky, 10955, 14 Mill Road, Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49441-8664. That's not my zip code. And I told her it wasn't my zip code. And I was really upset at myself because I hadn't seen this. Right? That I didn't even see this while I was at the window. I didn't see this till I got in the car. My daughter had taken me down there. We were going to go have lunch after we did this little deal. And so we're driving, went and had lunch and came back. And I'm starting to look at the paper and it's like, wow, man. I was really upset with myself. Really bad. I didn't sleep worth a damn at night. But I said, well, what can I do with this? And that's why I said, hey, I can file a complaint because this is a false statement on an official record that the United States has something to do with. So that's where we're at. So now I'm going to show you the complaint I wrote to USPS that I sent to the Inspector General. And then we're going to look at the way to do just your name yourself as yourself, which I think everybody should do afterwards. Right? So I just kind of saving that at the end. I'm kind of going through this story as I did it. Right? But so give me just a minute. I gotta take a break for just a minute. Hang on. Okay. So since they had put my zip code incorrectly again, right? Actually gave me a receipt. This is a receipt from Social Security Administration. It's like, well, I'm gonna go file a freaking complaint. Because I have a contract with the post office, right? I got a business contract, a business account. Excuse me. So I went here, United States Postal Service Inspector General, and hit Contact Us. I need to report. And I said embezzlement, financial crimes. You want to ensure you're submitting the proper one. Right, for any of these things, yep. Right, and then boom, and filled it out. So this is what I filled out here. Now, there may be another one. Because then I was coming on to the site here. Office of Investigations. Where is that at? Protect the mail. Maybe I should have done it through here. Contract fraud, financial fraud. I don't know if this is different or not. I will look at it later. But anyways, I did the first one I showed you. And I did this. Here's what I had to say. So I am a USPS customer, right? That was it said I am, and then it gave you some choices. No, I'm a customer. Do you wish to remain anonymous? No. First name, last name, Robert Allen Rutluski. As soon as I put that in, this address line on the thing filled in all by itself. It's like, wow, they know who I am. And see, this is the address. This is the first line of the address. This is the second line of the address. This is the city, state, zip code that's like the third line of the address. But this is the first line of the address. It isn't me, it's the address. This is me. This is my address. I just think that's so cool. Phone number, email address, tell them everything you want to know. Who committed the alleged misconduct? Well, that would be the Social Security Administration. These people right here. What are the facts? So here's an example, right? Now you got to write your narrative. Well, what is the problem? It could be as simple as this bill collector keeps sending bills to me not using my legal name. It's a false statement. Please investigate and see what they have to say. But, what I did was I said the Social Security Administration, hereinafter administration, is concealing claimant's legal name and current zip code from his official master file, known as a NUMIDENT file, kept by the administration. This omission of material facts is a false statement in violation of Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act of 1986, codified as 31 U.S.C. 3801, 3812, right? You just take the stuff they have already told you and make a sentence out of it and put a few things about you in it. This is all just shit that I read, that they had done. According to administration rules, only the first and last names are considered an individual's legal name. Well, we saw that. Where it says if an applicant has a given name with multiple parts and does not allege having a middle name, then the multiple parts should be entered as a first name. How do you tell the difference? Because it would have first name, comma, middle name, comma, last name, comma, or last name, comma, first name, comma, middle name, comma. But my name just had last name, comma, and then a name with no commas. So that's my first name. There wasn't a middle name. It was within the first comma. Outstanding. So take notice that the administration's definition of a legal name is contrary to that of the Real ID Act of 2005. Claimant became aware that he was issued an unlawful Social Security card in the name Robert A. Rutluski instead of his legal name Robert Allen Rutluski, because Allen had been inserted in the middle name box of the initial SS5 form instead of Robert Allen in the first name box. Robert Allen Rutluski is unjustly omitted as claimant's legal name on his official NUMIDENT file record and Social Security card, depriving claimant of rights under color of law. Claimant intended on having the administration update the NUMIDENT record to indicate his given name, Robert Allen, as his first name, as prescribed in RM 10212.001, and be issued a corrected Social Security card in accordance with RM 10212.150, name corrections on the SSN card. You can find all these things online just by Googling those names or numbers. Because administration internal procedures required the NUMIDENT record contain the current address and zip code of the place where the claimant resides, Robert Allen Rutluski intended to update his zip code in the NUMIDENT record to his current zip code, 49341-8664. C. USPS CRID, Customer Registration Identification, 240-96202. On January 5th, 2018, just a couple of days ago now, claimant attempted to have his official United States record maintained by the administration updated, at which time he witnessed the following omissions and false statements. Number one, administration staff refused to acknowledge claimant's Michigan identification card, R342745051691, as proof of identification, upon which zip code 493418664 upon which is in direct violation of administration's own procedure, RM 10210.405. Evidence of identity for a Social Security card, where it says in C5, an adult, age 18 to 69, in most cases should be able to provide a current identity document, such as an unexpired driver's license or state-issued non-driver identity. I did. They didn't take it. Number 2, administration staff only stated only birth record could be used as identification in direct violation of RM 10210.405, evidence of identity for an SSN card, section C4. SSA does not accept a birth record as identity because it is not adequate evidence to show the person is still alive. Administration staff, this is number 3, then produced a document allegedly containing revised information about claimant and asked for his review. Claimant reviewed this document and reported to the administration staff that zip code 49441-8664 was not the claimant's zip code, and that the claimant's father and mother were not identified using their legal names. Both mother and father's names had middle initials instead of middle names. And my mother was in her maiden name, I should have put. But this just indicates that their numident records omit their legal name. This isn't just you, it's your family. Everybody's got the same problem. It doesn't matter if the name shows up on the paper. What is it in the numident record? Is your given name in the frickin' first name box, or is there something in the middle name box? If it's in the middle name box, they're saying they're not going to acknowledge it as your legal name. Even after these errors were made known to administration staff, the receipt given to claimant states that the claimant's zip code is 49441-8664. This is a false statement on an official United States record. I got a receipt from the Social Security Administration. The administration's definition of a legal name is in violation of the Real ID Act of 2005, within which Congress has identified the full legal name as an individual's first name, middle names, and last name or surname without use of initials or nicknames. The use of initials instead of complete names in official United States record is deprivation of rights under color of law and an offense against the United States. The numident record is the controlling master file of an individual, and the information it contains is the vital record of the individual, and the numident record of the claimant is evidence that the Social Security Administration is engaged in program fraud. Why? Because they're not using my legal name, and they got the wrong address. So that was the narrative. When did this happen? Well, on Friday. Where? At the same place. How was the misconduct wrongdoing committed? Omission of material facts on an official United States vital record, commonly known as a numident record, in the care and custody of the United States Social Security Administration. Right? Really, that's my frickin' record. It's got my name on it. They're just the custodian. And they don't want to show it to you. Do you have firsthand knowledge of the misconduct wrongdoing? I'm a witness to the event with firsthand knowledge. Yes, I am. Where can we obtain additional information concerning the misconduct wrongdoing? The official records of the United States Social Security Administration, commonly known as a numident record for Social Security account number 374506794, and the receipt issued by the Field Office Manager, Social Security Administration, 3045 Knapp Street, Northeast, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49525, now in my possession. Who else might be aware of the misconduct or wrongdoing? I filed an online complaint with the Inspector General of the Social Security Administration within the last 2 weeks about the fact that the administration was not using the same definition of a legal name that Congress had mandated in the Real ID Act of 2005, resulting in the deprivation of rights under color of law and offense of the United States and its laws, specifically 18 U.S.C. 242 and the Fourth Amendment. Do you want confidentiality? No. Are you willing to be interviewed? Yes. That was my complaint about the fact that they're using the wrong zip code and a wrong legal name to represent me in an official vital record in the care and custody of the United States Social Security Administration. So that's a service that's provided by the United States. I have a contract with the post office. I can use their courts to be my, they can adjudicate the matter. They're the impartial witness, as it were. Okay, so that was done. And then what? Well, I was reading some more stuff. And it came down to the fact that didn't have this one ready. That I had to, oh, where are you? Post office, there you are. Okay, so those are all the things I did. Now, what if you wanted to do the same? But you don't have an EIN number, and you don't have a business account set up. You don't have. What you can do is sign up for informed delivery, right? Google that, sign up for informed delivery. And this allows you to set up a personal account with the post office and make yourself a customer, right? So here we go. Let's see. Sign up for informed delivery. Let's just see what happens when we Google that. Sign up for informed delivery. Sign up for free, or you could sign in, right? See if informed delivery is available in your area. Put in your zip code. But nevertheless, you want to create an account, right? So sign up for free. This is where I went to. This one here. I didn't do this one here, I don't believe. I did this one here. This will allow you to set up a personal UPS.com account. Right? So it'd be like having a business account, except it's for you. So, okay, now you'll have an account with the post office. And you can take that shit mail they're sending you that isn't using your legal name, because it will all be established as part of doing this, and say they're not using my legal name. It's a false statement. That's on property taxes. That's on your cars. That's on your insurance. That's on your utilities. That's on. It's on anything sent to you that's not using your full legal name. Because that's the name you contract in. It did say that on the UPS website. That's what your full legal name is. Or on the Social Security website. It's what you use for contracting. And if you look at, any of the things they're sending you, again, they're not using your legal name. They're made up some legal fiction normally, or have your name backwards or some other variation. Just say, that's not my legal name. Let's get it worked out. I want the post office to decide, right? If there's an error in the records, well, let's fix it. So when you went here and did this, you would end up with something like this. All right, now, see what I did. I put my name in as a street address because when I did the complaint, that's the way it came out. Right? When I did the complaint, they asked for my name, and it printed the first two lines of the address. And so I put them in just to see if it would work. Hit continue. And it said, hey, success. Your address is eligible to receive images of your mail scheduled to arrive soon. Your address is eligible to receive images of your mail scheduled to arrive soon. You can actually see your mail before it gets to you. But this is how I did it, 10955 Northeast. And so it switched the positions of the first line, second line compared to the business. Now the first line was the street number. The second line was the business. That's the care of name. And going back now, so as I remember, another thing on the EIN when you do it, they're going to ask for, the care of name. trustee, whatever, care of. That's who we're talking about. Put your name in there. Right? Click the box. I have read. Yep, I did. You go in and you make up a username. You can't use the same username as I found out that you have for your business. You got to do a different one. All right, so jazz it up a little bit. Pick your questions. Right? Add your contact information. First name is always Robert Allen. You do not have a middle name or an initial. Check the boxes. Check. You want everything they'll send you, because somebody may send you something saying, hey, you got a check waiting for you. Come on down and pick it up, right? Or we're going to have to send it back. Something like that. You create an account, right? It's all just continue. It's all done. Done. So anyways, you get all done with this, and you've created a form delivery account in the username of whatever. Then I had one more set of things, verification questions. Your identification protection is important to us. To help us ensure that we provide you with the right information about your letters and packages, we ask that you verify your identity by answering the following questions. Please do not refresh this page or use browser back button. Answer all questions and press continue. On which of the following streets have you lived? Well, it could be none of them, or it might be one. For me, I said, well, I lived on Satterley. Okay, I get it. On which of the following cities have you lived? Well, Greenville. Hey, that one was Satterley. Okay, I got it. But they may not even give yours. You just put none of these, right? So I didn't live there. Didn't put it. They're basing this on old information to show that you're no longer there. Now you're here. It's like this is domicile, right? You're registering for domicile in a federal municipal corporation called the post office. Which of the following cities have you lived? I did that. Which of the following counties? Hey, it was Mont County. I did that, but it could have been none. And which of these phone numbers? Well, none of them were. Continue. Ta-da, and I was done. I'm in the book. Okay, that would give you an account as a customer, personal information given to the post office so that they can do the shit that's talked about in the privacy statement for your benefit. Or you can file a complaint to say that there's been false statements done. And that's what I had to tell you today. I don't know what else to say. It's like, wow, this is really, really good stuff. We're going to have to see how it all works out. But I put the complaint in, and I have to laugh, chuckle. We did this quite some time ago with Bob Kirby out in Arizona, where he had put in a complaint to the post office about them sending him these bills or whatever, not using his legal name. And the post office sent a black sedan with two guys with guns and badges to come out and talk to him. Right, now that could be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. You say, well, you asked for it. You filled out the freaking complaint. Thank you for being here. What are you going to do about this? Put me under oath. Take my oath. What they told Bob you need to do, we need to talk to them to have your name changed, right, on the records. Didn't really know what to say, and he left. Well, at that time, Bob didn't have an account with them. But he could have said, well, no, I want you to do that. Right? How do I get you guys to do that? You don't need to take their, it's just an offer. Well, I could, but I don't want to do that. I want you to do it. I want you to contact them and tell them to change the frickin' name. Or arrest them for deprivation of rights under color of law. In violation 18 U.S.C. 242. So that's what's going to happen. The post office in your, for your zip code, that little district, that's your elemental republic. And that's the headquarters. That's not just the post office, it's the office of the post. It's international, and it brings justice to your front door. That's what Moses wanted. Well, that's what God wanted, why Moses did things the way he did. And why Blackstone said that King Alfred's idea was that justice would come to every man's front door. Like a river coming from the king down through all the tributaries and riverlets and so forth, down to every man's front door. So the post office very well could be the gateway to the elemental republic. That's what I'm saying it is. It's the gateway to the republic. And I am a member. I got my business there. And I got myself there. And I am his customer. And I did read the fine print. And false, fictitious, or fraudulent claim or written statement to the Postal Service. Well, what does that mean to the Postal Service? It's to the Postal Service if you're a party to the contract with the Postal Service. It's to the Postal Service. For property or services, if the United States provided such property or service. Well, Social Security Administration is definitely for the United States. And all the property came from the United States. Amen. And so Vital Records is in Title 39. Book entry stuff's in Title 39. The stuff about this claim is in Title 39. I'm sure there's much more in Title 39. I just haven't gotten there yet, but I got the part done I wanted. I got myself registered and filed a complaint, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what kind of mail I get. Okay, be blessed, everybody. Have a great week. Let's see what happens. We'll see you. Bye-bye.